Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to the 6th International Conference, Media and Technology, conducted by the Department of Visual Communication, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Kattangalttur. This conference represents a unique opportunity for us to come together to exchange ideas and insights and to gain new perspective on the issues and challenge that we are faced in our field. After 5 consecutive successful conference, this is a 6th year of a conference. We just wish this would be another successful conference with all of your wishes and support.
Literature, it was majorly seen that just a second. Yeah, it was majorly seen that there was no study that was done on the promotional items. And when I say promotional items, I'm talking about discursive devices like clickbaits, misleading headlines, and inappropriate images. It was seen that there was a minimal study that was done on celebrity brand and how the same is built over time. And the commodification of celebrities online, how they're treated as commodities, and the same is proliferated by media as a medium. And it was also seen that a public perception of the same was not as much explored as it should be to understand the credibility of celebrities in today's day and age, if we believe in whatever information about a celebrity is given online is right or wrong. So the methodology that I chose was a mixed methodology, and the model that I chose for the same was a convergent parallel model, where the methodologies do not overlap each other but are complementary to each other and answer to different objectives of the research study. The methodologies were qualitative and quantitative in nature, and in qualitative methodology, I chose an expert interview. The same was used to answer the objective of understanding the role of PR agencies in celebrity branding and to understand the celebrity brand influence per se on the online readers with the lens of a seasoned professional who has been in this work for a while now. Talking about the quantitative methodology, I focused on survey, and this particularly helped me answer one of my objectives, which was to analyze the relevance of celebrity content online. This was further bifurcated into 3 sub-themes, which were focused on using a 37-item survey, excluding the demographic variables, and the same were to understand the people's perception towards sensationalized content, the celebrity endorsement, as well as the celebrity brand influence on the online readers. Now, talking about the expert interview, the sampling technique that I used was a convenient sampling. This particular researcher that I had, the professional that I had, he was a contact of mine and he was a seasoned professional of 10 plus years of experience. So I thought it was best to interview the same to get a very in-depth knowledge of the industry and how the same works around celebrities and what is the role of PR agencies per se in endorsing such celebrities. The tool which was used was an open-ended questionnaire, which was handed over uh, to the expert beforehand for him to understand the same. And the technique that was used was a crystallization and immersion technique, which again talks about creating themes, and on the basis of those themes and genres, the information was analyzed at the end of the day. Talking about my quantitative research, I used a 37-item survey, and the sampling technique for the same was a simple random sampling. The sample size was 150 of relevant information of relevant people that answered my survey. The data source was a cross-sectional survey. The tool that I used for the same was a structured questionnaire, which I made using a Google form. The analysis software was an SPSS, IBM SPSS software, and the statistics that I used were descriptive statistics, which included skewness, kurtosis, and normal deviation, and inferential statistics, which basically helped me analyze the whole information through multiple regression and linear regression. For the same, I used multiple hypotheses, which all proved to be in favor later on in the research study. Now, drawing from all the information, let me talk about the analysis of the information that I got, as well as the discussions and conclusions of what I understood from the same. Now, I'd like to highlight that there was a lot of information that the expert gave me, and at the end, he did explain it to me that there's a huge role that PR agencies play in branding a celebrity in the certain way that they are branded. This is done to distinguish them from other celebrities, and it is a very common practice per se in whole of the industry. That was one thing that was found out of the expert interview. And out of the survey, it was found that discursive devices like clickbaits, misleading information, as well as misleading headlines, as well as inappropriate images were extensively extensively found in the sensationalized content that is shown on the internet, as well as that was something that was perceived by the audience of today's generation who consume celebrity content on a regular basis. In all of this, the theory of agenda setting was something that I saw was getting reflected again and again. This is so as agenda setting talks majorly about how, the information that is given out by the media is. If consumed on a regular basis by a consumer, the consumer starts thinking that that information is true and relevant to them. That was something that was a pattern which was seen in the whole of my research study, and that was something that I came up with as the conclusion of the same, that it did majorly coincide with the topic that I was talking about, and it was majorly relevant to the same. So yeah, and my whole topic, basically, I recommend the same study to agencies and organizations that might be, they might be associated to the industry, the entertainment industry, and they might also like use the same for further study, and like use the same for like secondary information per se, for the research studies that they might do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Srishti. It was an interesting presentation. So I guess it is your dissertation.
It was a dissertation, ma'am. It was converted into a research paper. I also had a text analysis, which I thought was not as relevant per se to this particular medium. So I did not go ahead with the same. But yes, it was my dissertation, which was further converted on a period of say 12 months. So yeah.
Okay. So it's fine. So I think, Sunish, like we can open for question answers now.
Yes, ma'am, we can ask the questions if there's anything.
Okay. So Srishti, like I have one, observation. So you were like talking about like, you have used a mixed method
Mhm.
approach, and it was very interesting that you have used both qualitative and
Yes.
quantitative. So one question is that how many people you
Yeah.
interviewed for this qualitative study? How many of them you interviewed? How many
For the
samples?
quantitative study, right?
Qualitative.
Okay, for the expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually tried out five experts in my connection. But the thing was, there was this requirement where I wanted my seasoned professional to be at least of 10 years, in which there were two people who actually made it to the par. And the one that I finalized was the one who had stuck to one particular organization and had a extensive research in the PR domain itself. The other one also had a little bit of dabbling in the genre of say influencer marketing, which was not as relevant to my topic because I was majorly just talking about portrayal on the internet instead of social media platforms. So that's how I came to this particular person, and five
Okay,
members were
but
interviewed.
as per the research method, actually, when you are like doing research, we are very much, insist on the scientific, we have to maintain the rigidity of that one. Even though it's a qualitative study, but there should be minimum 8 samples. Also,
Mhm.
you should like, and I say that I have done,
Right,
8 people like
I
interviews sample, right? So you cannot just, yeah. So that is also whenever you are writing, you should always write the year of the publication. Just, yeah, so that is one thing. Whenever you are writing, you should always write the year of the publication, no? So for
and
example, the author and the year,
yeah,
that one. So
that's
and
actually pretty
second
good
is that
feedback,
like
ma'am. I'll,
you are like you did the survey with the the
right,
audience, right? 150
right.
samples across the study. So why the audience or saying that the online content, the news has less
Right.
credibility?
So the thing is, I actually surveyed 200 people, but 150 were actually relevant to my particular study because most people in the first half of the Google form, they told that they do not use they do not consume celebrity content on a regular basis. So I just removed those samples from my research and I just focused on the ones that were relevant. Apart from that, ma'am, it was noticed that they majorly talked about celebrity news not being credible because of the discursive devices that are used for promotional activities like clickbait and the misleading headlines as well as inappropriate images. This again, when analyzing the same along with a little bit of information from the expert side, it was also analyzed that this is majorly because the PR agencies want to portray certain people in a certain way. So for example, one of the things that came up when I was talking to my expert was that if you talk about someone, say Rakhi Sawant, she'll never be taken into like a serious limelight, or she will never be questioned about political agendas or political mindsets that people might have. Kangana Ranaut, on the other hand, is a very different case per se. She is always talked about in a very different limelight than Rakhi Sawant. This also has a lot of backing from the PR agencies as well as the PR professionals that are behind these celebrities, and there is a huge extensive amount of celebrity commodification that is happening. The celebrity is being treated as a commodity, which in turn is also one of the reasons why, you know, the credibility of the same is declining. So that was one thing that I analyzed when I saw the news credibility of the same declining. Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So any other questions from the audience? No. So anyway, if there are any questions also, we will like discuss at the end.
I'll
Okay.
be open. Yes, definitely.
Wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
now I may call upon Sargam Saxena, and he also from like Christ University, I guess. And the title is Influence of Gen Z Cohort on Zomato Advertisement. Yeah, Srishti, please. No, Sadgam. Yeah, Sadgam. Yeah. Sorry.
You're not audible, Sargam.
Oh, I'm not audible now.
Yeah, now you're. No, ma'am. Sir,
Oh, sorry. Still, I'm not audible.
Sargam Saxena, you're not audible.
Yeah, Sadgam, you are not audible. Please unmute yourself. You are still not audible, Sadgam. I think then you try to fix it, then I'll call the next one. Bonika Das, a research scholar, Andhra University, School of Social Sciences, Department of Journalism.
Uh, Good morning, ma'am. Am I audible and
Yeah,
visible?
you are audible. Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, Bonika. Yeah.
And I'm visible as well as.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah. For you too, 7 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Wish you all the best.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, all the colleagues present here. My name is Bonika Das, and I'm a PhD scholar from Andhra University, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank SRM Institute, the Department of Visual Communication, and Creators Club for giving us this opportunity to participate in the 6th International Conference on Media and Technology. Ma'am, can I start my presentation with your permission?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So the topic that I have chosen for the presentation is portrayal of gender minority in the indie films, and I've done a content analysis of 3 films that I have selected, which I'll talk about. And the focus of my study has been teenagers. So basically, we all know that cinema is a medium of not only just entertainment, but also an important tool for mass communication, which gives an insight to the society. It challenges insight, it instructs, it illuminates, and it also teaches the people. So the reason why I have selected the LGBTQ community is because in spite of decriminalization of the section 377 of IPC, the queer community still faces a lot of problem in the society. So let's try to understand what these indie films are talking about and the whole the reason behind taking up the subject. So we all live in a society where a lot of human beings, we live in a society, and The society is the whole soul responsible for deciding what is normal and what is abnormal. But who takes the responsibility to teach what is normal and abnormal? Let's see that what happens when a child is born. So, in our society, when a child is born, he or she, through the appearance of their external genitalia, are decided whether it's a male or a female. So, someone who is born as a female or a male is given the tag of normal or normative sexuality. And this is done by social institutions like family, law, caste, medicine, science, education. The social institutions are reinforcers of social norms who are also the reinforcers of setting the gender norms in the society, and the normative reinforcers always try to look at the homosexual sexuality from the lens of heterosexual sexuality. The non-normative sexuality or the community consists of LGBTQI, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and many more. The reason cinema is an important tool because it has the power to mold the opinion of people, and it plays a very crucial role in reflecting the society. And independent film is a film which is a non commercial film, or which is a short film or a feature film, which basically focuses on critical issues and tries to discuss about such important discourses of the society. Now, coming to the commercial films, if you have seen films like Kal Ho Na Ho, then films like Dostana, Hasi To Fasi, all these commercial films over the years have, mocked or ridiculed the presence of gay and transgender characters in the films. They have been ridiculed, or they have been, appearing as funny characters in the cinema and not as important characters. The portrayal of queer population in Hindi stories recently has started to become a normal thing. For example, in the film like um, एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, शुभ मंगल ज्यादा सावधान, बधाई दो. Now slowly these films have started to portray the homosexuals in a normal manner, but what these films lack is the harsh reality of the community. They do not portray the stigma, the prejudice, or the discrimination that these people go through. They try to, showcase that superficial love story that is happening, and a few aspects are touched. But coming to the indie films, and also these commercial films, I'm sure a lot of you must not have seen where the commercial films are talking about teenagers, teenagers in their film coming from the LGBTQ community. Now, there are three indie films that I have chosen for the study. But before we go into the film, let me try to make clear what is gender identity and sexual orientation.
Monica, like, can you please, as only 7 minutes, no? I think it
Yeah.
will be difficult. So can you please move on to your like objectives and method and your findings, no?
Yeah, ma'am. The methodology that I have utilized for my study is a content analysis, because through this I have tried to focus on the theme, the queer community, and the stigma and prejudice that they go through. So the theoretical framework is queer theory, which tries to deconstruct the problems that these communities face. Then the gender schema theory. The gender schema theory was given by Sandra Wem, which says that the gender characteristics are learned and transmitted in the society, in the culture, by the family and the other social institutions like education, science, law, caste, etc. So, as per Lindsay, sex is an ascribed status because the person is born with it, but gender is an achieved status because it must be learned, and it is not that one will, affirm with the biological sex that they are born with. It is not necessary, because the hormonal, the chromosomal, or the genital factors may not be in linearity in a person. It differs from person to person. Next is homophobia is defined as the prejudice and the stigma and the negative attitude towards this group of people that we see. And gender stereotypes, these are the people who create homophobia among the society, and they treat these people in a very bad manner. Coming to Talcott Parsons' socialization theory, where he talks about how a person or a child is trained to behave in a society or socialize in the society. The first stage is where the primary stage, the child learns or the character is molded by the parents and is imparted values in a manner that he or she should behave in a particular manner. The second stage is where the individual is a teenager and now knows what is acceptable or unacceptable behavior in the society. And the third and the final stage is where the individuals are integrated into the larger society. They now know how they are supposed to behave. And if they are not behaving in a particular way that the society has asked them to behave, they know that they are going to be mistreated. So that's the crucial role of socialization theory. Now, the three films that I have selected is Nobleman, 2019, written by Vandana Kataria, Sunil Rego, and Sonia Bahal, and directed by Vandana Kataria. So, Nobleman is an Indian English film, which is a very dark film. There's a 15-year-old teenager who, uh, is ruthlessly ragged by his seniors in the school for being gay. He People get to know, people are not sure that he is gay, but they ridicule him. They in fact go to the extent of raping him, molesting him in the school, and all this goes unnoticed by the teachers. But the stigma that he goes through and all the ragging that he goes through, at one point of time, to take revenge, he actually kills his only teacher who was supporting him throughout the film, and he kills him just to take revenge from his seniors, so that all the blame comes to his seniors. So from this movie, it is very significant that if the people treat these people in a negative manner, they are surely going to give the society back in a negative manner. Now coming to Bulbul Can Sing. Bulbul Can Sing is an Assamese film. It is set up in the rural area of Assam, Kaladia village. In Bulbul Can Sing, we can see that there are three friends, Bulbul, Bonnie, and Suman. Suman is a guy, but we see him always, moving around with Bulbul and Bonnie. And as a result of which, all his classmates keep teasing him that they actually use the word ladies, and they keep teasing him all the time for because he's seen moving with his two female friends all the time. Even though the movie starts on a joyous note, throughout the film, we can see that Suman is continuously taunted not only by his classmates, but also when all the villagers go for fishing in a traditional manner. The men and the other women of the village also, start taunting him that why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. This is not your cup of tea. You cannot do fishing like that. So this is what Bulbul Can Sing talks about. Coming to Time Out in 2015, written by Rikhil Bahadur, which is a film set in the posh areas of Delhi. An elite family, Mihir and Gaurav are brothers, and Gaurav accidentally comes to know about his brother being gay. So the story is all about the whole family looks very cool in the beginning of the family until unless they know that their son is gay. But when Mihir confronts to his parents or comes out of the closet that he's a gay, his world turns topsy turvy. His family goes against him, and his mother is seen that she is seen googling that how to fix your gay son. So it doesn't matter which section of the society, whether they belong to the rural area, the posh area, the urban areas, and coming to Nobleman, which is set up in the school of Masuri. The main focus of all these three films have tried to show, no matter which section and which society it is, the prejudice, the discrimination, and the stigma these teenagers go through is all the same for being not normal according to the so-called normative society. So from this study, I have concluded that we need such more films to, understand the difficulties and struggles of the LGBTQ community and educate the general public and create an awareness among the people about the sexual minorities, or else there will be always this line between normal and abnormal, and there will be discrimination that these people will be facing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonika. It was such a colorful presentation, and sorry we couldn't give you more time, but it was interesting. I have like two observations. One is that you have used like too many theories. Actually, in India, like we are like, although like most of the international journals expecting us to have a conceptual framework and theoretical framework, it's okay to have like one theory. And for research, particularly like for one article, no, even if it is there are like one or two theories, that's fine. Like no need to kind of give too many theories, right? Because and when you are using a theory and you have to like corroborate your findings with the theory, then only there is a use for using the theory, not just for the sake of using the theory, right? Applying
Yes,
the theory.
yes,
Yeah, that.
yes.
And another one thing, you have used content analysis, but for me it looks more like a textual analysis. I don't know, maybe like I haven't like read your full paper, or like the way you have presented, no, it was like that, because content analysis is something very different from textual analysis,
Yes,
right? And then you have to have like give like assign codes, and then you have to do the coding, and then based on that you have to analyze the
ma'am,
data,
I
no?
have chosen of relational content analysis, where I have established the concept and then given a link between the two concepts. So like I have established the concept like the theories, and according to it in my whole paper I have tried establishing the concept together individually. We have two different types of content analysis, conceptual and relational. I've tried doing a relational. The coding is basically done in the conceptual analysis, but ma'am, I'll keep it in mind and I'll check with the things again.
Okay, fine, no problem. Yeah, even though it's relational, like what I'm saying is that content analysis, because when you talk to process, they say that they won't accept like content analysis even as a qualitative method. Okay, it comes under the quantitative, right?
Yes.
So you can say that how the camera angles and based on the colors and other things, no, you have to like for even the timings and everything, it's totally different. So that's what. So when you are like choosing the method also, no, it's better like when you are going for this, instead of saying this relational content analysis, you could have like just say that semiotic analysis or else like textual analysis. I think that would be more, work with this kind of visual studies. Okay. So that's,
Okay, ma'am. I'll make a note of it. I'll make a
yeah,
note of
yeah,
it.
sure,
Thank you,
sure,
ma'am.
sure. But it was an interesting study. Yeah. So it's
Thank
part
you, ma'am.
of PhD thesis or
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm also doing my PhD on LGBTQ community.
okay, okay, great, great, great. Okay, okay, Bonika, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I,
Thank you so much.
I may call the next presenter. I think now we have the other presenter before she couldn't like,
Sargam Saxena, ma'am.
yeah, Sadgam Saxena. Yeah. Sadgam, I have like one request to all the presenters, as it is an online presentation. Let us, kind of very brief with introduction and move on to our objectives and methodology. And we spend more time on your, analyzing your findings and discussion. I think that would be better.
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible, ma'am?
Yeah, yeah. Please carry on. Yeah.
Okay, I will share my screen. Please let me know if it's visible. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's visible. Yeah.
Uh,
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone, and apologies for the audio issue. So, my topic is, as mentioned, influence of Gen Z on Zomato marketing strategies. As Srishti mentioned before, we all did a dissertation and now it has been converted to a research paper to meet the requirements. I'll keep this presentation short and the abstract, the main aim of this research is to find out, first of all, Gen Z are the people who are born between the years 1997 to 2012, and it is said that this cohort is the most influential cohort, which makes or breaks the brand. And throughout the patterns, I have realized that Zomato is a company which is heavily relying on Zomato, on Gen Z's behavior, on Gen Z's trends, and they are heavily influenced by how Gen Z, what Gen Z trends are being followed, which we will see in the coming course of my presentation. So the researchers aim is to find out the impact and influence of Gen Z cohort on the change and modifications of Zomato marketing strategy, which includes advertisement, social media, print media for that matter, and how they advertise themselves even in restaurants. So so the introduction, um, I have these I have these five themes as a part of my review of literature, which is the Gen Z cohort consumer behavior, the trends and preferences, the marketing strategies that revolve around Gen Z, Zomato marketing strategies, and impact of Gen Z's on Zomato marketing strategy. A picture that has been attached here is in Zomato Instagram post, where it can be seen that there's a Zomato Feeding India concert that took place, where they brought in Post Malone, a very famous singer, again amongst the Gen Zs. So even though it was a concert which was meant to feed India, which was meant to feed the poor people who were needy, they brought in a famous singer so that Gen Z can be attracted, so that the youth can be attracted. And this is a very well example, and hence I attached it here. Yeah, literature review, as I said. The problem that the researcher, or the research gap that I found, was that there was no adequate research done on Gen Z impacting marketing strategies. It is always the other way around. There has been abundant research on how marketing strategies are now impacting on Gen Z and so on and so forth. But an opposite research has not been done. Abundant research done on how brands are impacting Gen Z, as I said before. My research objective was to analyze the impact, to trace the pattern of change in Zomato, how it has changed in the last 5 years, to measure the growth of Zomato on social media platform, and to analyze the consumer response on Zomato advertisement. So here are the research questions. The very obvious one being, is there any impact of Gen Z on Zomato? And if so, then how? And how has Zomato social media patterns changed? Coming to my methodology, I have included textual analysis and expert interviews. My textual analysis was broken down into 8 themes, as mentioned here: the color scheme on social media, on the application, on the print media, and on television, the frequency of their posts, the engagement of Gen Z, the occasions on which they advertise and their marketing happens, the discount and offers that they provide, the languages and lingos used on their blogs, on their website, so on and so forth, the formats used, which are reels, stories, threads, etc., and of course, CSR activities. Then for expert interviews, I took 3 experts, but all of them remained anonymous because of confidentiality. I haven't used any of their names. Yeah. For theories, I have taken 2 theories. First is the generational cohort theory, and second is the planned behavior theory. First, the generational cohort theory. This will help me to understand the behavior and the beliefs of Gen Z, which has changed over the time, and how it is impacting the brand. Second is the planned behavior theory, which will help the researcher to understand the behavior and psychology of Gen Z, how they function, how they behave, how they respond, which I have connected to Zomato, and how Zomato has taken their psychology and monetized it, and now they are thriving on it by making advertisements which are now very lucrative to Gen Z. Coming to the analysis and discussion, So Zomato's website and social media content is heavily influenced by the preferences and liking of Gen Z. In my full research paper, I have used figures, I have used pictures, I have shown the numbers and everything to show how heavily Zomato, in comparison to any other food platform, is the leading food delivery platform on social media. It has become more like a social media meme page rather than a food delivery promoting page. Zomato has become a food delivery platform, which is not just a food delivery service, but also holds the title of leading food delivery application in India. Zomato is a young company, as mentioned by the interviewee, which I interviewed, which provides a lot of context to the ideation for promotional strategies towards Gen Zs. Zomato's content, be it text, audio, visual, sit in sync with the Gen Z's likes and dislikes. Here I have taken memes, influencer collaboration, giveaways, and competitions, and I have related all of them to all the theories, to all the Gen Z behavior, and then further I have boiled it down to how Zomato is acting on it. The color schemes and the push notifications are also very significantly relating to how Gen Z buying behavior functions. As you can see that Zomato has a color scheme of red and white, and in my research paper I have mentioned how color theory plays a big role in brand marketing and how colors also relate to youth. So overall, I have in my textual analysis I have used theories, then I have related them to Gen Z, and then both of them I have related to how Zomato is responding. Next is social media content like reels are extensively used. Zomato uses reels more than any other format, which are also the most viewed form of social media by Gen Z. Gamifying Zomato's app UI user interface to engage with Gen Zs to include thrill factor and CSR activities like Feeding India concert, including pop culture to increase relatability. This is one of the very good example that I saw in Bangalore itself. A restaurant called Truffles has this poster there, which where it says it's a match of Zomato and Truffles, which is a relatable, or you can say it is anonymously used like a Tinder, the dating app. So Zomato has taken Tinder format and has used it in its promotional activity again, which proves to show how much Zomato is trying to add the relatability factor by adding Tinder and dating apps and making their own advertisements on it. Conclusion, there's heavy impact of Zomato marketing strategy by the Gen Z via thorough analysis on existing Zomato marketing tactics. The researcher, which is I have thoroughly analyzed Zomato's website, Zomato's social media, existing research papers on Zomato, the theories that can relate to it, connecting to how and why in terms of Gen Z. Every how and every why was found to be syncing with Gen Z and as the decision makers of Zomato marketing strategies. Yeah, thank you. Stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. Thank you, Sargam. It was an interesting presentation, and
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
did well. So, only thing is that my question is that how your findings are related with these two theories which you have used, generational cohort theory and planned behavior theory.
Yes, ma'am. So both of these theories mostly focus on the behavior and the psychology of Generation Z, which I was focusing on. And through these theories, I came to know how I can relate it to Zomato's marketing strategies, because Zomato as a brand is doing the same thing. They are studying the behavior of Generation Z, and then they are making their advertisements based on it, their likings and their dislikings. So that's how I incorporated these theories.
What I'm asking is that whether you have your findings or in align with that, no, the two theories.
Yes, ma'am. I have actually, because like in my research paper also you will find that these theories, because of these theories, the analysis and discussion is also based on how Zomato is relating to the behavior and psychology of Generation Z, which is why there's an influence on their marketing strategies.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you. So I
Thank you so much.
call upon the next presenter. Aparna Singh.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are also from
Yeah.
Christ.
Press.
Yeah.
Just a second. Let me share my screen. Is it visible, ma'am, the slide?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You can start your presentation.
Yes. So thank you firstly, SRM, for giving me this opportunity. The topic of my research is impact of Bollywood movies on the way people perceive depression. So through this research, I tried to find out if when people watch a movie, if they create a perception about the things about the movie that they have watched, and how often do they cross-check whatever they have seen, and how does that impact them, and how long does it take to change a perception that one has created. Through this, I also try to uh, explore about how there are already Bollywood movies which are based on depression and what they represented. So I had questions about if the people have ever watched a movie where a mental illness was represented as madness. The objective again of my study is to check if people educate themselves through different sources when they watch a movie, what the impact these movies have on audience, and what do they understand the representation of depression to be when it comes to movies. I had done review of literature on a couple of papers, but I have only picked 3 here. So the first one being representation of mental illness in pre and post era. So this paper talks about how movies represent depression, how audiences would want to see it. So it's not more about educating, it's about creating a content that would feel relatable to the audiences. The second one is effect of representation of mental disorder in popular Hindi cinema. So this paper had focused on 4 industries: Tamil, Bengali, Marathi, and Hindi. And this basically spoke about how the representation in all these industries turns out to be the same, sticking to the already existing perception of depression that is there. And the third is Bollywood on the brain, gender and mental health in Hindi cinema. This topic was very interesting. This paper was very interesting to me because it focused on Hindi movies showing how it's always a woman who is going through depression, or a woman is the reason why a man goes through depression. They also spoke about particular movies, one of them being Devdas. So there they showed, for example, if Shah Rukh Khan is going through the grief that he is, there's a woman who is the reason behind it, or in the movie Tere Naam. And they also spoke about movies which were focused on mental health issues, such as Dear Zindagi or Judgmental Hai Kya. And even in those movies, a female is shown as someone who is suffering from the mental health disorder. My research question were again, there were specifically 2, the impact one, and the second is if they cross-check with another source when they watch a movie to make their beliefs and their perceptions on the topic, such as on a topic as sensitive as depression. The method that I used for my survey was a mixed method. It was quantitative and qualitative. For quantitative, I did a survey of 50 people where I asked them questions around around depression. I'll be going in the findings, then you can see that I'll be going in depth there. And for qualitative, I interviewed a few psychologists and I asked them questions around the themes of depression and get an insight from them on how do people think and what impact can movies have when it comes to creating awareness and educating. So for me, the quantitative results, for the survey, the age group that I focused on was between 18 to 25, and majority of my sample space was between the age of 21 to 23. Most of them were male, and most of them did watch Bollywood movies, and majority of them created a perception after watching a movie. Some of them weren't sure, and around 9 of them did not create a perception after watching a movie. So it was a total the same for whether they cross-check the fact or not. So half of them did, and it was the equal number who did and who weren't sure if they did cross-check a fact or not after watching a movie. And majority of them had watched a movie which had a depiction of mental health illness. And again, majority of them had also watched a movie where mental illness was referred as madness. And this is the age group where they were introduced to the concept of depression for the first time. And majority of them were introduced between the age group of 16 to 20 years. and the platform through which they got to know about it, social media being the highest, and parents, as you can see, there's only one person who got to know about depression through parents, and there were other sources in between. And Bollywood movies, these are the Bollywood movies that do have a representation of mental health, and these were the number of my audiences who did watch the Bollywood movies. If you can see, there is a significant drop between the people who have watched it and between the people who think there is an representation of mental illness in these movies. For example, here it's 35 people who have watched, let's say, movie Dear Zindagi, then there is only 30 people who actually think that there is a representation of mental illness in movies. And there are a lot of people, again, who think that the mental illness in Bollywood movies are dramatized, and there were around 24 of them who weren't sure if it is or it is not. And I can focus specifically on these two movies named Devdas and Dar, because there was this one more paper that I came across which spoke about how when it comes to men in movies, it's not always shown as a mental illness, but it is more often focused as grieving or just as if it's something really common. So Devdas, again, majority of the people hadn't seen it, but there were still people who thought that there wasn't a reflection of mental illness in Devdas. And again, same with Dar. I mean, there were people who weren't sure if there is a representation of mental illness in the movie Dar. Now talking about the qualitative research. So the first theme that I asked question about was movies' effect on human psychology. So on this, a majority of the psychologists said that the humans do create a perception after coming out of the movie, and it depends from person to person. Some of them may forget it the minute they step out the movie theater. However, if they ever come across a situation which is relatable to what they have seen in the movie, it all resurfaces. And for few people, it sticks around longer. And since they have already made a perception after watching the movie, it is only if they come across someone with an opposing view that they would want to question it. And again, perception on the subconscious mind. So as I mentioned that it may not surface immediately straight away, but if you keep revising it, or for example, if you keep watching the movie, if you keep having conversations around the same things that you have learned, it does get deeper in your subconscious mind. And third being the method of introduction to the concept of depression. So depression is a topic that needs to be handled very sensitively, and movies can be used as a source of creating awareness and reaching audiences at large because of the kind of reach it has. But again, it needs to be made sure that movies are created in the form of educating and not for commercial purposes, because then they often end up being dramatized or portraying something that would sell rather than the actual reality. And the fourth thing being unlearning and relearning a concept. So as I mentioned above, it only happens if you come across someone who with an opposing view, and also if you are in a state where you are willing to learn. So it becomes difficult if the first time that the concept is introduced, it is not done correctly. And movies' role in existing taboos. So here I came across one really interesting insight from one of the psychologists who mentioned that when these movies represent depression or any mental illness as something which is, it is something cool, then it has also become something in the teenagers now, where they treat it like a status quo, and they use the word depression or any other mental health disorder very easily. They think it will make them a part of the league, and that has become a part, like that is adding in the existing taboo, because for that, people who might actually be going through it, they are not able to come out and talk about it openly. And the movie as a source of education. So here, one of the psychologists insisted on the movie Tare Zameen Par. So she said, since the movie did start conversations around the mental illness, which was mentioned there, dyslexia, but it also got parents thinking that if their child is not the best at academics, there has to be something wrong with the child. So even people perceived it as like not everyone is supposed to be the best at academics. Children can be good at different things, but if the child is not good at academics, that means they need to have a problem. Otherwise, there is no other reason why they won't be the best, in getting marks. So these were the 6 themes that I focused on, and this was my conclusion. So movies serve as both entertainment and education for the viewers. That's why it needs to be, I mean, when it comes to topic as sensitive as depression, it needs to be portrayed very sensitively, and audiences do watch do create perception after watching a movie, and they only sometimes cross-check the facts. And a lot of people have watched movies referring to mental health without realizing it. Social media and other forms of media have become a common source of information on mental health. The information that goes out there needs to be accurate, and it is important to ensure that movies accurately reflect reality with when it comes to a topic as sensitive as depression. That was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aparna. It was an interesting presentation about how the Bollywood movies are representing these mental health issues and how the audience are receiving that information. So you have like established, you connected well, so that is fine. But the one thing, like I'm like, it's kind of bit confusion only. We are like talking about, movies, right? So how movies are like kind of misleading, regarding this mental health issues, and how it's also like misrepresenting this, or stereotyping also, we can say, right? So how do you see this Bollywood movies and social media are like linked? Because one of your findings is saying that people are depending more on social media. Yes, that's true. But how this Bollywood representation and the social media is like related?
Ma'am, so there's this one thing. So during my research, for a movie, there was a movie that I picked called Dear Zingi. So when I also spoke to my psychologist about it, they said that at the end of the movie, it's not represented accurately. I mean, the method of therapy that they have shown, it's not the actual, I mean, it's not the method that is used by psychologists. And at the end of the movie, the psychologist also says that, it ends here. So, and these clips do circulate on social media. So there are a lot of, clips from movies where they talk about depression, or where they talk about mental health issues, that go around on social media, which also becomes a source of learning. And when clips like these circulate on social media, it can also put the person who is in fact thinking of seeking therapy in a place where they will in fact fear being abandoned by their therapist, and they may not step ahead and ask for help.
Yeah, yes. I just want to know about that. No? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Aparna. It was
Thank
nice.
you, ma'am.
Yeah. The next presenter.
Shubhangi Agarwal. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah. Shubhani Agarwal
Just a second.
from Christ.
Yeah.
So this is like the whole Christ University session. Yes. You are from the same batch, or?
Yeah, I am from the same batch.
Okay.
Just a second. I hope my screen is completely visible.
Yes. Yeah, please.
Okay, so my topic is public relations in post-truth era, and it is a qualitative analysis. So we all know what public relations is, but I am guessing that most of people present here don't know what post-truth is. So post-truth is when objective facts become less important, influencing people's opinions over their emotions and sudden intent or reactions. So this is what post-truth is. Post-truth is nothing but what comes after truth or beyond truth, or what people interpret is truth, is post-truth. So context of my study is I want to understand what is the impact of post-truth on public relations, regular activities, and because it is a huge because post-truth and public relation both are wide topics. I am particularly studying it around social media, and also it started. So the post-truth started in 1992, and that is when it started affecting the PR activities as well. So basically, I'm focusing over crisis communication, which is a part of public relations activities. My research objective is how public relation activities are influencing, so how public relation activities are influenced in this era of post-truth, where there is a lot of information manipulation, false narratives being passed, and narratives are transposed, rumors are spread, and people think as per their emotions, and there is a lot of sensationalism. So my research questions or research gap is around how post-truth is limiting PR professionals from doing their jobs as they are supposed to do, and what is the role of social media in manipulating the information, and also how all these things are affecting the PR professionals' daily activities and leading to crisis or crisis communication. So my literature review revolves around post-truth and new media, and basically, as I'm focusing on social media which is politically very active, it so the narratives there are multiple, and there are a lot of confusions around there, which is again a sign of post-truth era. Also, as post-truth is related to sensationalism, because emo truth, that is emotional truth, which is prevailing in this era. I am also looking around sensationalism and how these two terms are related. And at the end, crisis management in post-truth era. So once a brand's image is disturbed because of any false narratives or rumors in the society, then how is it dealing with the crisis? So my theoretical framework is I am using this theory, information manipulation theory, which is given by Stephen McCormack in the same year 1992, in which post-truth theory was also coined. Post-truth, the word was also coined. So as per this theory, people generally do not check the accuracy or source of the information, and there is a lot of distortion of information, and it could be intentional as well as unintentional. But at the end, the communication process is not complete because there is failure of communication because of distortion in the message. Also, while talking in terms of advertisements, tweets, and announcements, these can also be misinterpreted. So the intent of an advertisement could be something, but how people are taking it could be something else. So this is what this theory is all about. I am using textual analysis as a part of my research methodology. It is a qualitative methodology tool. And I think that understanding the depth of all the messages and analyzing a few case studies in this uh, in post-truth era and around public relation activities and crisis communication is something which is very important to understand and get to my conclusions for this paper. So I'm taking two cases, one of Tanishq and another was Swiggy, and I did in-depth analysis of both the studies, both the cases, and I came to a conclusion which I'll talk about later, that how both of these studies, both of these cases are different and similar with each other. For this, I use official documents, actual tweets, common trolls, and various articles that were available online. Uh, so talking about my analysis, so first I would like to talk about Tanishq. So there was this case in 2020 that Tanishq came up with this advertisement, which was regarding oneness and unity of Hindu and Muslim communities. So there was a festival in which a Hindu female, Hindu women was married to a Muslim guy, but the people called it or termed it as love jihad, and there were trolls like, why always a Hindu woman is married in a Muslim family? Why is it isn't it the vice versa case or otherwise case? So there were a lot of trolls around Tanish. There were also the things got very messed up, and at the end, Tanish took down that advertisement because there were death throes as well for Tanishq advertisement team. Uh, and another case was Swiggy's case. So Nirmala Sitharaman in 2020, while the farmers' protest was going on, tweeted that anyhow, if farmers are not growing crops, we can always Swiggy food. So Swiggy tweeted them back saying that we cannot refund education, which was something around bantering. But again, people termed it as partition stance, and they said that Swiggy is taking a political stance towards farmers' protest, and which is not right, which is anti-national. And brands like Swiggy should not politically activate themselves on social media. They should not speak up on social media. And I also try to see how Swiggy and Tanish case studies were different and similar. So both the cases were trolled on social media. Both the cases were misinterpreted. Their intent was something else, and people took it as something else. And both Swiggy, there was this huge difference between Swiggy and Tanish. That Tanish took down their advertisement, but Swiggy didn't. So my conclusions at the end of the study were that so in post-truth era, people reacted as per their first, their emotions. What this they are not reacting rationally, and they're reacting on their instinct, which is a part of post-truth era, and which it is also because of it is also because of low media literacy among the people. And another thing is that because sensationalism is so much prevailing, there is false narrative which is prevailing in the society again, and which are affecting a brand's image because their intent is not taken as it is. So in the conclusion, I saw that there is a shorter attention span online, because both these cases were forgot after a few months. And because of multiple perspectives online, everything could be right and everything could be wrong. So you cannot say who is right or who is wrong, and you never know whom you can trust. So in a way, we can say that it is somehow affecting the creative freedom of public relation professionals, because whatever they do cannot be always right for the audiences. And people, especially in India, are not very adaptable to the change mindsets. For example, in Tanish's case, as their intent was to show unity among these two communities, but people mistook it. So it is also somehow affecting the creative freedom and people's mindset, because it is very restricted and not adaptable. One of the things that I noticed at the end of my paper is that maybe post-truth is also affecting freedom of speech and expression, because people, especially PR professionals, are not able to completely come up with creative ideologies, or what they needed to showcase, they're not able to showcase that. So one of my recommendation or solutions out of this paper could be that PR professional needs to be more meticulous and more cautious. And one thing that they can do to make things better and to avoid crisis is that customized advertising and customized public relations as per their audiences, as per the targeted audiences. So this was all about my paper, and at the end, a recommendation, as I said, that customized PR and advertising, which would be an increased burden on PR professionals, but at least crisis could be prevented. And second thing is, silence is the key to respond, is the best response for trolling, because trolling is for a very short period of time. And if brands like Swiggy and Tanish would not involve themselves in trolling, then it could be less harmful, and crisis in this way can be avoided. So yeah, that was my presentation.
Thank you, Shubhangi. It was a very interesting and what you call very important work. That's what I have to say, because you have like shown the the what you call a bigger issue, so there is a larger political conditions were there, and how this political conditions of a country is also like kind of affecting this public relation and how it's also like involved in this one. So it was an interesting work. Yeah. So I think hope you have published this work, or it's an interesting one. So now may I call upon the next presenter, the last presenter from Christ University, Aditya Umesh. Yes. The title is The Impacts and Implications of Advertising Appeals and Elements.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. And yeah.
So good morning. I'm Aditya Umesh from Christ University, and I'm pursuing a master's degree in media studies. My topic for today is the impact and implications of advertising appeals and elements. So just a little bit on the background of my research. The broad question that initiated my research was to find out the impact of advertising appeals, such as emotional appeal and rational appeal, which you might have seen on in a lot of ads. Emotional appeals, there are various types of emotional appeals like humor appeal, sex appeal, fear appeal, etc., which are mostly used for FMCG products, but they are also integrated towards other products as well, and also in PSAs. For example, there were a lot of ads for WWF. Like the world, like you need to protect the animals. Or for example, the Aircel campaign that was there, only 1,411 tigers left in India. That was fear appeal. So, yeah, so the question was to find the impact of the ad appeals and also the elements of advertising found in ads, such as the ad copy, the taglines found in ads, and jingles as well, that are most commonly found in ads. Um, and not just through a singular mode of communication, but a diverse, um, you know, various forms of communications, such as social media, broadcast media, print media, etc. Um, so another question that initiated this research was to find out if the use of advertisements such as print media, broadcast media, and social media have an effect on the usership of people because of their age. Um, so now, before we go on to the review of literature, it is necessary to get familiarized with a few terms. So these are two terms that are going to be used quite widely during the rest of this research. So advertising appeals are basically ways in which ads are presented to the masses. They are structured in strategic manners. To they are basically plans that are made to persuade potential consumers in an ideal manner, whereas advertising elements, as I mentioned before, are factors that are found within ads that consumers come across while viewing an ad. For example, an ad jingle, and the plot of the ad, the script of the ad, basically, that people watch during the time of the ad. um, and also an amalgamation of all of these elements. So, according to a 2019 article by Wisme.com, as you see here, the rational appeal.
Umesh, can you please, as we have like only 15 more minutes, no, we have one more presenter. So
Yeah.
can you please move on to your objectives and research method, no, so that we might get more time for discussion.
Sure. So, So I'll move on to the methodology now. The research method that I have used was the survey method, and the the objective of this method was to collect data from a large sample of 114 respondents. The sampling technique was simple random sampling, and the media theory that I could relate to this research was uses and gratification theory um, as proposed by Bloomer and Katz in 1974. Basically, the uses and gratification theory says that people seek out specific media for specific needs. So the data on the following factors was like the questions basically on the survey were demographics related, which consisted of age of the people, because that was a very important factor to look at as we had to um, you know take a stock of the usership, like the impact of the age on the usership. Um, so there is age, there is location, there is education and occupation, and also how frequently people came across advertisements, which if you when I take you ahead with the research, it is a lot. People come across ads a lot. So this is the majority of the population. In terms of the age, the majority of the population that responded were approximately 22 years old. Now the location, the majority of the population that responded to the survey, were from urban areas. And most of them are postgraduates, as you see here, 45.1% of them who responded were postgraduates. And the people who responded in majority belong to an organized sector. And as I told before, they quite frequently come across ads. Now, the data that I received through the primary source, since the target audience for this survey, people mostly belong to the age of approximately 22 years old. The majority of the people, which is 61.4%, they used social media as their primary source of ads, with television and radio being the second one, and the least one, people using print media the least. Now, people didn't, like, this data basically says that people purchased products only due to the utility they had for the product, and not because of the appeals used in advertising or the elements of advertising that persuaded them. But however, the elements and the appeals in advertising or the ads that they watched, it did, increase their product awareness and their brand awareness, as you see here. Now, taking you forward with the methodology, I coded the data first on IBM SPSS from 1 to 5. I used the 5-point Likert scale, in which
Can you please go to, like, can you sum up the thing, because already it's like only 10 more minutes
there
left.
were two dimensions that were determined: the the dependent variable, which was the impact of advertising elements, and the sources of the frequency of advertisements. But I also used a demographic variable, which is age, for the second hypothesis. So the first hypothesis said that there is no significant relationship between the sources and the frequency of advertisements and the impact of advertising elements of consumers. However, I challenged that with the alternative hypothesis, which said that it did have a significant relationship. Now, the second one, where I said that I had age, the demographic variable, as one of the variables for the which determined the dimension for this hypothesis. There is no significant relationship between consumers and the sources of, of advertisements. There is a significant relationship which was challenged with this uh, alternate hypothesis, which said that um, there is a significant relationship between the consumers and the sources of um, advertisements, the frequency of advertisements. Now, the findings that I found after uh, running it through on SPSS was that there was indeed a significant
I think,
relation.
Umesh, can you please go to your end, no conclusion?
I'm on the conclusion part itself, findings. So the first objective was where we had to find out whether
Umesh, can you please like go to the last slide and then you wrap it up? Your time is up actually.
uh, this was actually the second last slide.
Okay, okay.
So the first objective was to find out whether advertising appeals and the elements had an impact on people, on the way they perceived ads and the information coming out of ads. Well, yes, people did, you know, learn more about the brand and the product, but it didn't really, affect their buying behavior, as only their utility acted as their motivation for their buying behavior, and not the elements of advertisements or the appeals. Um, and the second one is that, in one of the literature reviews, I found out that baby boomers who are born from 1946 to 1964 um, do not use social media, but that was actually a wrong statement. When I went through some research papers, people do actually use social media, who belong to that age, um, and because they are on social media for about 27 hours of the week. Um, because they talk to their families, and yes, they do come across advertisements on social media and the internet, the baby boomers. So these are the two findings of my research. I'd like to conclude it.
Okay. Thank you, Umesh. It was an interesting thing. Yeah. So now I call upon the last presenter for today, Laldin Feli.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Can you share your?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Today, the title of my presentation is on globalization and social media marketing with a focus on consumers' behavior in Mizoram. So I'll go a little bit for introduction. So like many other parts of the world, Mizoram, which is a small hilly state in northeastern India with a population of 10 lakhs, has also seen an increase in interconnectedness with different parts of the world. And like our daily lives in Mizoram are surrounded by global goods, service, and brands. We order products and service from Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, and many other online shoppings. And we dress in brands like Zara, H&M, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Nike, Adidas, etc. Order food from KFC, Domino's, etc. Consume Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and like even our the entertainment program that we watch are global. And this globalization brings about what is known as consumer culture. And this consumer culture means material culture of commodities, which is comprised of the world of goods. So for example, cars. cars are undoubtedly for getting around, and we know that food are for nourishment of the body, while the brand of the car and the types of food we eat are for communicating our social status, ideals, and values to others. So that is what is known as consumer culture. And products are extension of the self and play a crucial role in defining a personal or household identity as well as in self-presentation. So in this process of consumer culture, social media has grown to be a significant medium that influence consumers' purchase decision in light of the fantastic opportunities that the internet has brought to marketing and commerce. And also the contemporary era of global integration has also seen a strengthening of regional cultural practices, which is called localization. So many academics think that local consuming cultures are emerging because they are resistant to globalization. And globalization helps to strengthen and revitalize the local rather than eradicate it. And there is a third complicated option called hybridization, which is also called localization, that lies between the two extremes of homogenization and localization, in which the global and local factors mutually encourage one another rather than necessarily being at odds. So in the light of all this, the purpose of my paper is to analyze how globalization has affected consumer purchasing behavior through social media marketing in Mizoram, and how localization and hybridization come into play along with it. So all this review of literature, I will not go into details, but this review of literature talks about the impact of globalization in every aspect of consumer behaviors, and also in this sense, how hybrid cultures contribute significantly to the development of localization process, which together with globalization process are part of analysis of the globalization and culture. And also there is one very interesting theory called the McDonaldization of society, how the homogenization and heterogenization of culture under the condition of intense globalization. And this is referred to as the intercultural hybridization. And social media marketing is a very new venture in Mizoram, but at the same time, it booms with dynamism. So it's interesting to see how much impact globalization has on the consumer behaviors of the Mizo people with reference to social media marketing. So the purpose of this study is to investigate how globalization has affected consumer behavior concerning various products, as well as the key variables that influence those behavior through the usage of social media marketing in Mizoram. So this study assumed that the impact of globalization through social media marketing would have a substantial impact of consumer behavior decision. And following this, the following hypotheses have been defined. One, globalization has a significant impact on consumer buying behavior related to social media marketing. And two, convenience is the main reason that motivates people to use social media in the purchasing process of different products. And these are the objectives of my study: impact of globalization on consumer behavior concerning social media marketing, the consumer behavior of respondents regarding their experience in social media marketing, and to study those factors influencing consumer behavior towards social media marketing. For the research methodology, it is quantitative in nature, and it uses information gathered from Aizawl city residents who were approached and asked to respond to questionnaire created for the purpose. The empirical research was conducted in the capital of Mizoram, Aizawl, on a sample of 513 respondents. The sample size was determined by the formula developed by Lemisho 1997. Based on this formula, the minimum sample size was calculated as 350, and we get 513 respondents. And sample frame was done using non-probability convenience sampling because it was a consumption-based study. And in terms of gender, male and female respondents were approximately evenly distributed. And in terms of age, a large portion of the respondents was young and reasonably well educated, who all purchase any kind of products through any social media platforms. And the instrument used was the Alden's Skin Camp and Batras 2006 Global Consumption Orientation Multiple Choice. This is the questionnaire. It is a ready-made questionnaire, and it's not very hard to fill it up. But before they fill up the questionnaire, we have to tell them how to how to respond to it briefly. So the response have been coded as global, local, hybrid, and indifferent, and multiple correspondence analysis have been used. And also, there is a second part of the questionnaire which contains the motive for online purchase, method of payment, and main reason using social media for purchasing product. Like I said, the questionnaire was being handed physically to each respondent, and the researcher thoroughly explained each word and statement and how the questionnaire should be answered. I'll go to the findings. I will not go into details about the demographic profile of the respondents. Like I said, one of the all the respondents were engaged in at least one of the social media platforms regularly and had experienced shopping through social media many times. And the frequency and percentage of each domain's reaction were displayed here. I will not go into detail. The global alternate emerged as the model value with the highest frequency for each consumption category, as indicated in both the table and the figure. And additionally, it was made obvious that the hybrid consumption, that is local and global, was most closely related to every consumption category. So we can see that when it comes to social media marketing, Mizo consumers tended to prefer global the most, followed by hybrid consumption option over local, and in nearly all of the 6 domains, including lifestyle, entertainment, furniture, clothing, food, cosmetic, and skincare products. And when respondents were asked about the payment method they typically use when they make online purchase, majority of them, 58%, said that they prefer online payment, Google, and with cash on delivery being their second choice. And the primary risk of using social media to buy items, 49%, that is the majority, identify financial fraud as the biggest concern according to the result. And discussion. So we can see that global products have become more prevalent in the market as a result of globalization, and the majority of urban Mizo households also adopt foreign trends and use foreign goods in daily life. Yet a large number of Mizo people are reverting to local goods, in part because of nostalgia, specialized tastes, and strong Mizo sentiments. And in Mizoram, the saying "support the locals" is widely promoted nowadays, and there have been numerous fairs and exhibitions where locally produced goods have been displayed and offered for sale. And in Mizoram, several updated Mizo products made a comeback, especially during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. More and more consumers are turning to local items, but the majority of locally produced goods currently in use get their popularity through the social media marketing, which is a significant byproduct of globalization. So we can conclude that localization is simultaneously encouraged by globalization. So the social media channels enable the globalization of locally produced goods. Local pages and promotion for local goods are exposed to a worldwide audience on these social media platforms, where national and international shipping for the delivery of those local goods is available. Like, for instance, Mizo individuals living abroad can order and have local handicrafts like one transported overseas. So although many local groups perceive global influence and links as an invasion of their culture that would eventually wipe it out, that is not often the case. So we all know that it is impossible to ignore the globalization of market. Cultural differences seem to be less important as our society grows more universal, global, and uniform, at least in terms of consumer behaviors and entertainment. But like I said, this impression seems to be generally wrong. The importance of cultural variation will not diminish. There will always be a big gap between cultures, and the culture divide between local and regional group can be widened rather than narrowed through globalization. So nevertheless, the high mass of data in table 2 make it abundantly evident that the global consumption alternative is most closely related to every consumption category, followed by hybrid consumption, and lastly by local consumption. So the research reinforced the literature on globalization by showing that there is a big impact of globalization on the consumption of products in Mizoram with reference to social media marketing. But at the same time, the research finding revealed that a significant proportion of people who regularly use social media to buy different products choose local products, 20.08%, and hybrid products, 32.94%, demonstrating the simultaneous promotion of localization and hybridization by globalization. For the conclusion part, mm, the two research hypotheses, globalization has a significant impact on consumer buying behavior related to consumer social media marketing, and convenience is the main reason that motivate people to use social media in the purchasing process of different products are supported by the result presented. And they provide insight into consumer behavior with regarding to social media marketing with reference to Mizoram. And there are some limitation. This current study present opportunities for further investigation because only the city of Mizoram's capital Aizawl is included in the analysis, and the chosen sample is not indicative of the state as a whole, and also due to socio-economic disparities, the finding result might not apply to other regions of the state, and also there is a potential that the respondents will answer the questionnaire with personal bias and prejudice. So that is about my paper. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So I think we are in the end of the session, and we were like, running late by already 10 minutes. So what I want to say, it was a very interesting session, and I want to congratulate all the paper presenters for coming up with very interesting topics. And in this session, 7 presenters were there, and 5 of them were from Christ University, and my special each one of you being a postgraduate student and coming up with very interesting research. Hats off all. And then 2 research scholars, like one from Mizoram University and one from Andhra University. Yeah. So, like you can see there is a link between all these 7 presentations, right? So, although like one is about gender identity in films, right? Yeah, that is an interesting topic. There are like 2 papers on films, like one about Bollywood movies and depression, and then a portrayal of gender in Indian films. Yes. And then like all the other articles, the papers are related to social media, advertising, marketing, and public relations. So one thing I want to like mention you that we were all, kind of focusing on the micro level of these issues, but these issues are, like kind of what you call the symptoms of a larger socio-political scenario. And then, even we have to like put the social media, for we should make them like accountable for this also. For example, when we talk about this post-truth in social media, so Facebook, or they are even what happened in Myanmar and what happened in other parts of the world also. You can see that they are the one allowing and enabling this post-truth. Okay, so they are the one making those fake news, and they are allowing that one. So that one we have to see. And again, like we are all using this social media for free. So we are the products, right? So they are also we are the laboratory rats, and they are also manipulating when it comes to marketing and advertising and everything. Okay. So that one we have to see. Yes. And congratulations, everyone. And thank you, Sinish. I think that's all right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, madam.
Yeah.
So let me thank you so much to all 7 participants who are present on this session. It's my pleasure to take a moment to express my gratitude and appreciation to each and every one of you participation in this conference. I'm also proud of you the way you have conducted yourself during this conference. Your professionalism, courtesy, and respect for one or another have created a positive and productive environment that has allowed us to achieve great things. I wanted to express my heartfelt appreciation to all of you participation in this conference, and I wish you all the very best in your future endeavor. And finally, thank you so much, ma'am. I wanted to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude for your exceptional leadership and guidance throughout the conference. We know that this took much more time than we expect. Thank you for being patient and listening to the entire presentation. Your insightful and thought-provoking remarks during the entire session helped set the set tone for productive and engaging conference. Your vision and leadership were truly instrumental in making this conference a success, and we are grateful for this opportunity to have you a part of it. Once again, thank you for outstanding leadership for creating such a positive and productive environment. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sunish and SRM University for organizing this conference. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone. You can leave this meeting, and next online session starts at 12:30 p.m. and you are all welcome to join it. Thank you.